Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Incubator podcast live at the CHNC Symposium in Denver, Colorado. We are joined this morning by our good friend, Dr. Srirupa Gopal from, you may know Rupa from the Incubator, where she came with Dr. Patel to talk to us about CDH. But tell us a bit of an update as to where, because the last time you were on the podcast, you were just a fellow.
Oh,
You
just
were
a fellow.
You were
Oh, gosh.
fellow.
Yes, I was a fellow and I graduated, and I am currently an assistant professor of neonatology at Assistant Health Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital. It sounds so fancy, so I wanted to say the whole thing.
There you go. There
Quite
you
a
go.
mouthful.
You are in Denver for the conference. What are you excited about? What are you here to make sure you don't miss? Can you tell us a little bit about the...
Yeah. I think CHNC is an amazing platform where you, first of all, collaborate and meet with a lot of folks, which is wonderful. And we are conducting a workshop today on implementing hemodynamic-based strategies for managing babies. And so we will be conducting that today, this afternoon, and I'm excited about that.
What are you guys covering on that workshop?
We are covering a little bit of a movement away from dopamine, if you will.
My God, dopamine is getting killed.
Poor dopamine.
Poor dopamine. It's becoming lonely.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's against dopamine. Let me put it that way. I think that there is just a movement overall in the field of neonatology on understanding, well, what is the basis of medications that we use?
Yeah.
And it's just a wonderful advancement towards a very hemodynamic and physiology-based approach.
That's exactly right. I think that's something we talked about. We're saying trying to go back to a practice of medicine that is based on physiology, understanding what is actually going on, and then using the strategy that is most appropriate to tackle this pathophysiology and get the best outcome. Whether it is dopamine stays on the side and fluid is actually what the baby needs more than anything else.
I guess this is my question. Are we getting to a place, what are the clinical and hemodynamic findings where dopamine is the right answer?
Well, I think that's what's interesting is that
Listen, we are still using dopamine in our unit. I'm not going to be
It's so funny because
we are too. And I think a lot of the units.
What's so funny to me is that at PAS, the only slide that I sort of left with, you know which one I'm going to talk about?
Death to the dopamine. I loved it.
So Audrey Hebert, who went actually on the French podcast, but it was not her talk. It was one of the talks in that session where someone pulled up a slide of like a metal box with different knobs and saying basically in an ideal world in hemodynamics, you want to be able to tweak the knobs and get a little bit of the effects of dopamine and a little bit of the effects of milrinone and basically have this almost like pressor ventilator kind of thing. And I'm like, that is exactly right. I think that's the new approach of saying, well, we're not going to swap one medication for another just based on trend, but say, how do we maximize and leverage the positive effect of each medication to just make sure that we deliver precision medicine to these
you're
patients?
saying we really have to remember those receptors
Yes.
and at what level
we have to remember these
hit
receptors.
those
What is the
receptors.
effect on systemic vascular resistance? What is the effect on the myocardium? What is the effect on the pulmonary vascular resistance? And what is the overall fluid status of the baby? And then taking all this into account, which is kind of based on the hemodynamics assessment that has to be quite good. You try to create a cocktail that would work best.
That would work
and I'm
best.
talking way too much, but I'm done.
You got excited first. So
I'm excited about hemodynamics.
tell
am
us,
so
is the
glad.
workshop mostly hands-on? Is it mostly didactic?
Yes, so it has a combination of didactics, and we are also going to have some case-based, discussions. We'll have separate platforms or separate tables, I guess, where we would be having specific case scenarios where we'll be discussing, common echo findings that we'll see. And I think one thing that we always have to remember is not every unit has a whole hemodynamics consult service. And so
Most units, right?
Most units. And so at this point, we're just essentially focusing on, well, if you have a baby with, say, for example, pulmonary hypertension, what are the things that you need to focus on physiologically? And what are the medications that can help you focus on those goals?
Very cool. Very cool. I wanted to maybe use this opportunity to highlight the fact that you're not just an attendee at CHNC, but you're actually joining the Incubator team.
Yay!
You've already joined the Incubator team. We just haven't revealed it to the world yet. But you're joining
You've been working tirelessly trying to keep us on track.
You are joining the Incubator team. We are tapping into your interest in mentorship, in education, And so you're going to be hosting a special series of episodes on the Neonatology Review podcast, which is the podcast that most of you are familiar with, where we do board review for the neonatal boards. And you're going to work with Neonatology Fellow to try to have chats with people and learn more about the research that they're doing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're trying to achieve with that series?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started listening to neonatology, the Neonatology podcast Incubator, I think one of the big things that resonated to me was there's so much research that's still hidden there because fellows do it. And yes, we have conferences where they present it, but I think that the Incubator podcast is a global platform. And it definitely helped me when I was on Incubator to like collaborate and to interact and get insights from so many researchers around the globe. And so I think I wanted to have this opportunity for the fellows to use this as, one, present their research, talk about their research, show their passion towards what they're doing, and also that would be a platform for them to open up to collaboration with other researchers.
That's exactly right. I mean, we are going to really try to leverage the international reach of the podcast as well. So what would be very cool if fellows could collaborate on an international level?
Together.
Like if you could have like, like the pen pals, just like you would have a pen pal, you would have like a research pal saying, hey, I'm doing this with a colleague in Norway or in Sweden. That'd be so cool. So if you are interested in taking part, I think we have already a few slots reserved for recording because I think it's you're doing a very good job at promoting this within the fellowship communities. But people can email you directly. Your email is srirupa.harigopal@gmail.com. We will post a little flyer on our Twitter feed and our LinkedIn page. So look out for that. And you can email Rupa directly and share your research. So thank you for taking that on. I'm very excited. And I love these series because if we are not the ones hosting, that means I get to listen to something exciting.
And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to say this. I hope that fellows are just totally empowered. I think fellows come in and they're passionate and they're excited. And I think when fellows can work together or they can find the right pathway to mentorship, even if that's long distance, I mean, I think that it's incredible. And any way that we can support helping fellows pursue their passion.
And to me, that's also the opportunity to share. I'm excited about the failures because I think that right now, if you want to present at a conference, you kind of have to have had a successful project or something we need to show for. But what about the fellows? Is we did this and it flopped. Like we didn't find anything we were hoping for.
Negative studies are valuable.
Exactly.
But there's still bias in the selection process. So I think it'll be very interesting to have some candid moments with fellows. Say, yeah, that didn't work out. I had a friend who, and even myself, like you start some projects and you're like, all right, this is going nowhere.
Well, and I think it helps other people from making the same
absolutely
mistakes.
And while you learn tremendously from these sort of dead ends, if you want to call them, people can actually also learn from that. So that's kind of cool.
No, I think I'm excited about that, and I think we get opportunities in conferences, but this is a little bit more laid back,
informal,
but also a very an exciting opportunity for them.
And
you could put it on a CV line. So we have created a what do you call it?
Template,
a CV template. So that way, people who are doing virtual talks of their research will get credit for their time.
Because when you think about it, if you go at a conference and you present and there's 700, 1,000, 1,500 people in the audience,
maybe if that, right?
That's a very big deal. And that's kind of a consistent metric for digital media right now. So
Sure. No, it's an exciting opportunity, and I'm very, very excited to hear from y'all about your research, your interest, your everything, so I can talk a little bit more about it.
That's awesome. Okay. Thank you, Rupa. And thank you for dropping by.
Thanks.